Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Dimmaugbor, an Enugu-based makeup artist and human hair vendor. If this is your first time of being in this channel, please don't make it your last. If you've been in this channel before, hi my loves, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a bob wig from start to finish, from fixing the closure till stretching the closure and styling the wig and bobbing the wig. So stay tuned. First of all, we used a basket. You can use a dummy if you want, but the dummy is not available now. So that's why we try to use a basket as a dummy or as a head. And the net we use is DIY do-it-yourself mesh net. The closure we are using here is a 12 inches 2 by 6 closure. And the wig we are going to make is an 8 inches bob wig. So first of all, you fix the net to the basket and then go ahead to pin your closure to the basket with a pin. You want to use a pin so that it will stay in place as you sew in the closure. In making a wig, you first of all sew in the closure. If you decide to start the wig without sewing in the closure, you might not get the right measurement for the closure. So it's easier to start with sewing the closure first on the net before going ahead to sew in the hair. So we are starting at the left hand side. You can start at the right hand side, whichever way is comfortable for you. We are going to sew in the closure. We are going to be sewing in and be tracing the hairline where the closure stops. You will not pick in where the hair is. So as you're picking the hair and the net, you pick close to the hairline. In picking the first one, you pick it first and draw it before you pick the second one that you will knot, so that it will be strong. While sewing in the closure, when you pick the closure with a needle and the mesh net, you turn it 2 times before you knot it. Make sure it's strong. You pick, you turn 2 times, and then you knot. Make it very tight so that the closure will not be loose on the net. Remember to sew in the closure while tracing the hairline. If you pass the hairline and and sew the closure close inside the closure where there are hairs, it will not be smooth. It will make the closure to have knots. You will not get that very smooth look of closure that will give you a human hair like texture and look. Remember, when you pick, you will turn it 2 times and then you will knot it. Make it very tight. It's important that it is tight. Making a closure or a hair, don't pick too much net unless it will reduce the size of the net. If you pick too much net, the size of the net will be reduced and it might not fit in all sizes of hair. Remember, this net you are using is elastic net, so that you can size any shape of hair, any shape and size of hair. That is why we're using an elastic net. Even if you use an elastic net and you pick too much, the net might not fit all shapes and size of hair. So that is why you pick a little, trace the hairline and pick a little. In fixing the closure to the net before starting, make sure that you bring a little bit of the closure forward, a little bit of the hair forward, so that when you finish making the closure and the hair, the closure can cover the hair properly. If you look at this closure now, you see that we brought out a little bit forward so that it can cover the hair entirely when you make, after wigging the hair. After sewing in the closure, we'll go in with sewing the hair proper. And because we are making a bob wig, we will give space behind, a gap like 2 inches gap behind, before we start sewing the hair, behind the hair. So that, because this, we are doing this because this is a bob wig, and in a bob wig you have to trim the excess, you have to give it a blunt cut. If you start from the beginning of the net, you will waste a lot of hair while trimming it to give it that blunt cut. And even this is a straight hair, a long straight hair, or even a coily wig we are making, we will start from the back, from the beginning of the net. But because this is a bob wig, we are not going to start from the beginning of the net. This is to avoid wasting of the hair, because we will trim out the excesses to get that 8 inches, which we intend to get. If you start from the beginning, you waste a lot of hair. But if this is a coily hair or a straight long hair that you will not trim at all, you start from the beginning of the net. But because this is a bob wig, any wig that you will trim, that you have to give a blunt cut, you don't start from the beginning, so that you will not waste it. Because if you start from the beginning, then you will have to cut off a lot of hair to get that blunt cut, that blunt equal length that will allow you to bob the wig. If it's a bob wig, if it's not, the cut is not blunt, it will be difficult to bob. That is why we gave this space, this 2 inches space, before we started with making the wig. Remember, in picking the net with the needle, pick a little, just small net, so that you will not reduce the size of the net. If you pick too much, the size of the net will be reduced, and it won't fit into all sizes of hair, especially for hair vendors. You know that you're going to sell the hair. You don't know the shape or size of whoever is going to buy it. So because you don't know the shape of the person's head or the size of the person's head, you pick a little so that it can size the wig, can size all sizes, can fit in all sizes. So when we go to the extreme and you want to turn the wig, you will go a little bit, you pick a little bit higher, higher above the line of the wig you've made, of the wig you've sewn, rather. You pick a little bit higher and then turn it 2 times and knot it. Make it very tight. When you make it very tight, you will now turn the wig, the hair, rather. You will turn the hair. When you turn the hair, you will give some space and sew forward, and then sew it backwards again so that it will be very tight. As you're sewing that forward, you have to hold it so that it will be very tight. You hold it so that it will be very tight. You sew the hair forward, you bring it backwards again, and then go back again and continue with the wig and sew it forward again. So you're going to go back and forth while turning the hair so that it will be very flat. Make it very tight. Draw it well so that it will be very tight. And you will now sew the forward, go back again and go forward again. Remember, in turning the wig, you have to go back and forth. You see how I'm holding it with my hand so it will remain flat and tight while I sew it in. If you pick it and leave it, it will be loose. And if it's loose, after making the wig, that side you turn the hair will swell up. It will not be flat like a bob wig. After going backwards, you go forward again, and then you continue with the wig making. And in sewing the wig, follow a straight line. Follow a straight line. Can you see how flat it is? When you're rounding off the wig making, trace, as you're picking the hairs, follow the line that you used while you were making the closure. Trace the hairline, exact that place the needle passed, the thread passed while making the closure, while fixing the closure on the net. Make sure you trace it to bring the hair close to the closure line, so that there won't be space, there won't be any gap between the closure and the last hair you sewed in, so that everything will be flat after making the wig. Can you see how we're doing it? Sew it exactly at the thread line you gave while you are making the closure. Just trace the thread line, the hairline of the closure, trace it. After making the wig, you go ahead with giving the blunt cut. You have to give it a blunt cut, trim out the excesses. The wig we are making is an 8 inches wig, so we trim out the excesses. Remember, that was why we did not start the wig making from the line of the net. We gave a gap because of this trimming. If you're not going to bob it, it's okay like this, but if you're going to bob it, you have to trim out the excesses. We use Cloud9 stretcher. What we use in bobbing the wig is a stretcher. You put it on the highest so that it will be very hot. If it's very hot, then as you're stretching it, when you get to the tip of the hair, you curve your hand. Remember to detangle the hair before you stretch it. Detangle it with a picking comb before you go ahead with stretching. Make sure the stretcher is on the highest. If you look at the hair closely, you will see hot stems coming out from the hair. It's because the stretcher is hot. If it's not hot, you will not get it cannot bob that hair. Or even if you bobs it, it won't stay because it's not hot enough. But if it's hot, very hot, when you bob it, it will stay. Even after boxing it, if you bring it out, the bob will still be there. You're going to stretch it line by line and bob it line by line. Giving gap before sewing the hair also helps the bob to curve well, because if there are too much hairs there, you find it difficult to bob the back. So also giving that 2 inches gap we gave before we started sewing the hair also helps the bob to curve well. You stretch and bob line by line. When you're stretching the second line or even the third line, make sure that before you curve your hand, you will get to the edge of the first bob you already created, so that the second bob you're making will cover the first one, so that it will be line by line. If you curve your hand before getting to the last, the bob will be hanging, the curve will be hanging, and it will not give that smooth bob look. After stretching and bobbing it, you go ahead with the closure. You also stretch and bob the closure. Remember to detangle before you stretch. And put it on the highest. Remember, in making a bob wig, you will use a closure that is longer than the length of the hair. The closure we use here is a 12 inches 2x6 closure, and the wig we made is 8 inches bob wig. You can use a 10 inches closure, but the 10 inches is not available. So what is available to us is a 12 inches closure, and we used it. When you bob it, if it's too long, you trim out the excesses. Like this excess you're seeing here, you're going to trim it out. After stretching it, we will go in with hot comb. We'll use the hot comb to flatten the closure. We're not just going to use only the hot comb, we also use a hair wax. Hair wax helps to make the closure to be flat and stick together. So when you use a hair wax on the closure, remember only on the closure before you use the hot comb. So you use the hot comb where you use the hair wax. It will also help you use the hot comb to pat the closure well. When you flatten it well, the patting will be very obvious. Make sure that the hot comb is in the highest. Use it to flatten the closure and comb in the closure to the hair also, so that it will give this natural look. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section. Share this video to your friends, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in my next video. Bye.